So chapter 3 is on building relationships in marriage and family. Social scientists like making typologies up, which remember are classification systems, and being single is no exception. There are four different groupings, and they include voluntary temporary singles, who are unmarried adults who may be delaying marriage while pursuing education or establishing a career. That would be people in college, as an example. They also include what are called voluntary stable singles, unmarried adults desiring a single unmarried lifestyle. So maybe somebody living in a big city that maybe recently graduated college and just wants to kind of see what's there and explore. There are involuntary temporary singles, singles actively seeking or searching a mate but unable to find a suitable one. And of course, the last one, involuntary stable singles, unmarried adults who can expect to be single for life even though they don't want to be. So that's the typology that social scientists came up with. Friendships can be very difficult to define, sometimes even more complex than relative relationships. There are differences between how men and women look at friendships. It even varies between social class, race, and ethnicity. And I might add, it even is different between different age groups, the things that people look for in friendships. Is it possible for men and women to be just friends? Well, it really kind of depends on individuals. And of course, those things, just like every other social process in marriage and family, change over time. Okay, so historical looks, remember, focus at the macro level. And those can be affected by things like war and economic downturns, and even things as massive as the Industrial Revolution and mechanization. Courtship in the United States in early America was very different than it was now, or is now. Imagine someone coming to your home now in the 21st century and bringing a calling card. Actually, is a practice that happened in the 18th and 19th century, where young men would visit a woman in her parents' home, generally the parlor, and if she wasn't there, or if no one was there, they would leave a card requesting a visit. Macro influences today include media, how sex and gender are portrayed, racial and ethnic differences, social class, and even nowadays sexual orientation. Some people, even when they are dating, have to follow certain dating scripts, which are sets of expectations and behaviors around dating that are somewhat different for men and women. 50 years ago, it was unheard of for a girl to ask a boy out, but that's changed, unless, of course, it was expected. Nowadays, I'm not sure exactly what people do. Boys ask girls out and vice versa. There are differences in and similarities in dating practices between social groups, between racial, ethnic groups, and sexual identity. What the differences include is perhaps like with social class, where a person might go on a date to. If you're in the lower class, your dating practice is going to be different than if you're in the upper class. Figure 3.2 looks at percentages of 12th graders who have never dated, and as well as people who have dated more than once a week. And you can see the trends over from 1990 to 2010. Never dated's gone way up, almost tripled, while dating more than once a week has been down, is almost down 50%. 3.1 looks at how people spend their job or their time during the day, what they do, and you'll notice one interesting little tidbit is how much time is spent electronically. Most people date people like themselves. It's called a homogamous relationship. So it lends some credence to the expression, birds of a feather flock together. We spend time and we date people that are most like us. And we also date people that live close to us. Long-distance relationships can be very difficult. Living around someone and dating them is called propinquity. And of course, the pool of eligibles changes depending on the type of community that you live in. If you live in a small town like LaSalle, Peru, or Oglesby or Ottawa, you probably know everyone in town, whereas if you lived in Chicago, the pool of eligibles is far different. That's part of the reason people move away to get a different start. Figure 3.3 looks at black-white dating relationships. Between 1985 and 2010, it's nearly doubled in acceptance, which is not surprising. Then some couples decide to cohabitate before they make a commitment. Cohabitation is an arrangement in which two people live together without being married. And you might wonder who actually cohabitates. People who are often, or used to be, chided as living in sin if they live together, but it may actually be a selection effect. People that cohabitate may be concerned about divorce later on. You'll notice on the chart here that the people that are least likely to cohabitate are people 65 years and older. So the selection effect refers to the fact that people who cohabitate tend to be the same ones who later divorce. That may or may not be true depending on where you live at and what social class you're in. Then again, you can look at correlations like that, and these are called spurious relationships, in which two variables seem to be related, but in fact the difference may be due to a third variable. In this case, we're not sure what exactly causes it. Keeping in mind, too, that cohabitation has a profound effect on children. One of the things that divorcing couples realize is that when they leave their spouse, that they also have to be cognizant of when they get into another relationship and have a relationship with another adult. It does have an effect on kids. Gay and lesbian relationships are no different. Their commitment and cohabitation are similar. And there are some differences, primarily which is seen